Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have the latest from the live radar, run through the weather warnings as we do have a yellow warning issued for rain for parts of eastern Northern Ireland, as we are going to see some pretty torrential rainfall in places, and it is going to be fairly persistent through this evening. As you can see, a big wall of rains moving through England and Wales at the moment and is slowly heading northwards and westwards. The next couple of days do remain very unsettled indeed, with lots more heavy rain, especially in the west, and areas that don't see the huge walls of rain will most likely see lots of convective showers. Fortunately, though, as we head into the weekend through Saturday and Sunday, in, of course, the bank holiday weekend, things are looking a little bit better, a little bit brighter, and maybe even a little bit drier. Don't think we're out of the woods in terms of precipitation completely, but definitely will be a little bit drier than it has been today and will be over the next couple of days as we do see the pressure slowly rise. As we head into next week, into the start of April, we still do have a lot of uncertainty about what we're going to see. Still got quite a few runs showing some cold or very cold air trying to push our way, but equally, as we saw yesterday, there are some runs that are pushing some big warmth our way, and it's because we've got this big amplification of the jet stream, big high pressure blocking towards Greenland, and it is pushing cold air out of the Arctic while also advecting very warm air out of Africa northwards, and it's really where do we end up in that sort of balance. At the moment, it's about a 50-50. Eastern Blue Air probably more on board with cooler pattern, GFS more on board with a warmer pattern, and we'll explore that in the second half of the video. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. Now, if you start on the live radar, you can see this big wall of rain that is heading up from the south at the moment. It will slowly move northwards and westwards over the coming hours and will probably stop raining across much of England and Wales by around midnight tonight. So the rest of the evening does look like a bit of a washout. This precipitation will head northwards and it will give heavy rain across much of Scotland, Northern Ireland, and some hill snow in places as well. We still have some colder air embedded further northwards. Under this precipitation, as around 6 o'clock, you can see temperatures are starting to fall away quite a lot. To the north of precipitation, or just on its northern edge, it is still pretty mild, as this is where we've seen the warmest upper air temperatures and a bit of sunshine today, and generally drier conditions, but those temperatures will be tumbling away like they are across central southern England because that rain and cloud is moving in. To the north of the weather front, still got quite a lot of cool air across parts of northern England, Scotland. You can see it really defined over the hills and mountains, and it will continue to remain fairly cool there over the coming days, and as said, will be some hill snow. If you look at the weather warnings, you can see we've got this rain warning issued for eastern parts of Northern Ireland from 6 p.m. this evening until 10 a.m. tomorrow. And again, it's for persistent rain, bringing some impacts to travel and infrastructure overnight. If we do have a look at this, you can see the potential impact level for this warning has been increased to medium and has been pushed back to Wednesday. It was initially issued earlier. So you can see widely 15 to 25 millimetres, maybe 30 to 40 millimetres widely over hills, and a small chance of 60 to 70 millimetres. Quite a lot of rain here. Even areas outside of the weather warning will likely still see tens of millimetres in the worst spots. It's just here the likelihood is higher, and that's why we do have warning issued, and of course the impact is high as well. Now, if you go over to the latest UKV, you'll be able to see that precipitation heading northwards through this evening and slowly clearing into Scotland and Northern Ireland through the overnight hours, turning to snow over the higher ground. Through much of Wednesday, the rain continues and snow continues across Scotland, and then elsewhere we see lots of heavy showers pushing in, again wintry flavour within some of these. As we slowly spread into Thursday, we see another batch of precipitation heading in overnight, and into Thursday afternoon we still see plenty of pretty heavy convective showers around. Into Friday, things are still pretty unsettled, but it's more of a showery outlook, less persistent rainfall, which is a positive. And the same can be said as we head into Saturday. Maybe a little bit of persistent rain in the morning in the far east, but during the afternoon, plenty of sunshine, but also a few showers around, some of them quite heavy. And the same can be said for Sunday, where it actually looks even drier. So you can see into Friday and Saturday, still be rain around. It won't be bone dry at all, but it is going to be quite a bit drier than it has been over the previous days. And of course, we will see that reflecting in the temperatures as well. So we do have a look at those temperatures. You can see earlier today, really struggling around maybe mid to low single digits across some northern areas, maybe mid to high single digits further southwards, maybe 10 to 13 degrees, where we just about have that warmer upper air temperatures, and we do have slightly dry conditions. Into tomorrow, a widely, again, pretty cool day. Look at that, 7 to 9 degrees, maybe 11 or 12 in the east, where we hold on to maybe a bit more sunshine and warmer upper air temperatures. And then as we head into Thursday, an overnight frost in many northern and western areas, and then into the afternoon, again, struggling around the high single digits, may just touch 10 to 12 degrees. And then into Friday, temperatures slowly sliding upwards, as I said, with dry conditions, a bit more sunshine, 12 to 14 degrees. And then as we head into Saturday, again, chilly overnight, but by the afternoon, again, 12 to 14 degrees. And that will likely be reflected again in Sunday, maybe slightly higher. The reason why it's not getting much above the mid-teens is because the upper air temperatures are nothing spectacular. Still relatively cool air embedded over the top of us. Not quite as cold as some of the air we have around over the next couple of days, but it's not warming up either, as the air masses do kind of get a bit stagnant. You can see here the low does slide away and fill in, and that means that the pressure slowly rises and the air masses do or take a little bit longer to get shifted away, and that means we hold on to that cold air for slightly longer. Hopefully though, the longer term, maybe some prospects for something a little bit warmer. Now if you go over to the latest GFS, you can see it's the 12 o'clock run, so it's only just come out. You can see the lows building over the top of us over the coming hours. Really unsettled conditions over the next 2 days or so. But you see into Friday and Saturday, the pressure rising as the low does fill in. And this essentially means into the weekend, we could see drier and maybe some sunnier conditions. By no means is it warm, by no means is it bone dry, but just a bit better. And then you can see into next week, we see the big high pressure system develop towards Greenland. Now we've got a bit of uncertainty here, as I've said. It's this low that's over the top of us. Eastern edge, very warm air. Western and northern edge, very cold air. You can see that on the upper air temperatures here. Very warm air advecting eastwards, very cold air getting pushed southwards on the western side of this low. But it's where do we end up? At the moment, most runs have kind of a battleground. This GFS run initially pushes cold air in, but doesn't get much further southwards in sort of northern England. And then look what happens into the longer term. Very warm air gets pushed northwards, and then that sets the trend towards the end of this run, where it's still unsettled but slightly warmer upper air temperatures there for quite a period of the run. So cold into next week, into the first few days of April, and then going very mild into the subsequent days as we do see southwesterlies arrive. But of course, it will be accompanied by quite a lot of rain. You can see a bit of a conveyor belt of precipitation there coming from the southwest. Lots of moisture and lots of low pressure systems riding along this low. So that's kind of the caveat. You see warmer upper air temperatures, generally temperatures probably in the mid-teens, but you can see quite a bit more rain and quite a bit more heavy rain because of that increased moisture. If you compare to the GEM, again, low pressure parking over the top of us in the next couple of days. High pressure building towards Greenland, pushing those northerlies in. And again, you see us battling on the eastern side here of that low. So instead of that cold air pushing over the top of us, it initially tries to push in and then gets pushed to our east, and then we draw up the milder air. It's best to view this on temperature deviation. It's not quite as distinct as it was yesterday. Distinct that is, and you can see again, yellows on the eastern edge, blues on the western edge. It's where do we end up in this battleground? And then finally, if we compare it to the ECMWF, again, low pressure builds over the top of us. That low continues to spiral in the Atlantic. High pressure builds towards Greenland. North or northeasterly winds try to push in. And again, it's where this low forms. Here, we initially see colder air pushing in for a time, and then we see the milder air starting to push up from the south and kind of in between here at day 10. So as I said yesterday, the overall synoptic pattern has actually shifted all too much in the past couple of days, but we're seeing huge variations in the upper air temperatures from different runs because of this battleground situation. Where does this low end up? And what side of this low do we end up? Do we end up on the east and southeastern side, or the northern and western side, which would be much colder? Now, if you look at the latest ensembles, you can see the latest GFS ensembles definitely favouring us on the warmer side of the low, with much reduced numbers in terms of those colder runs. Quite a few more very warm or very, wild or very warm runs appearing with still pretty high precipitation though. So as I said, that's the big caveat. Even with those warmer upper air temperatures, it most likely will still be very unsettled because we're not seeing high pressure build over the top of us. You see this well reflected in the 2 meter temperatures, definitely an upwards trend into the mid to even high teens, maybe even 20 degrees, but lots of rain, no reduction in the precipitation here at all. Dew points highly varied, some very cold dew points in the longer term, but equally some very mild dew points. I said the GFS today definitely on board with a milder pattern. And then if we do finish by having a look at the latest ECMWF ensembles, these from the midnight run, you can see a bit of a split. Quite a few cold runs for the first few days of April, and then it goes milder. So ECMWF is kind of on board with both scenarios, colder for a few days and then milder into the subsequent days. So it's all still to play for. It's one of these scenarios where we could see a flip instantaneously from the GFS ensembles. They could be very mild one run, very cold other runs. All depends on where that low does develop. But really, what happens to that low is just going to decide the upper air temperatures. Whether on the eastern side or the northern and western side, the unsettled theme will continue. No high pressure is looking like it's going to be dominating at the moment. I could be wrong with that, of course, but the majority of runs do have low pressure dominating, meaning regardless of what the upper air temperatures are, regardless of what the surface temperatures are, we're going to be seeing a lot of rain around in the next couple of weeks. As I said though, into this weekend, the Easter weekend, the bank holiday weekend, there will be some glimmers of hope with some sunnier and drier weather for a time, or maybe Saturday and Sunday, but it's not a pattern change. It's a couple of days where we do see a bit of respite. But as I said, the overall theme continues to be very unsettled. Temperatures at least cool initially, uncertain as we head into early April. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.